Hey, what's up, guys? Sean here with BlueRidgeSilverhound, and today we got the Pocket Change Market Report, this time for February 9th, 2022. I wanted to take a moment to welcome each and every single one of you as we go and explore what's been selling on eBay in the error variety field of coin collecting. A lot of the coins that you'll see here, as a matter of fact, all the coins that you're going to see in this video are all raw, ungraded coins that in some way or another were originally discovered going through maybe a big batch of pocket change, or maybe perhaps coin roll hunting is a thing that uncovers a lot of these really neat coins. But also, if you're a fan of going to the coin shops and shows, a lot of people do what we call cherry picking. And that's the art of looking through dealer stock of inventory and really picking out errors and varieties that maybe they had missed, and you would just go and pick them up for whatever the non-variety or error value is for that coin. It's been around for since the beginning of time regarding the coin market, and it doesn't matter how you amplify your coin collection, whether you go through big batches of just random change or by going to your coin shop and then finding something really nice. You know, it's a great way to spend less to really make your collection that much more interesting, or it's also a great way to supplement your income, which I'm sure a lot of you listening right now seem to be really interested in. But if you need to get into the coin collecting hobby, these are generally some of your least expensive options to really dive in. It doesn't have to be a rich man's sport, and that's kind of the stigma that numismatics has had for many decades now. But with a newer, burgeoning group following that's much younger, we're seeing a lot more young numismatists in their teens, going all the way up into the 20s. The game has changed, and you know, with the popularity of precious metals and stacking and hoarding and coin roll hunting, it couldn't be any more bigger. But the Pocket Change Market Report has been a fantastic barometer check. You know, just as an ever evolving, changing hobby, and we're seeing that I would say every month, where we're seeing new strides, we're seeing new collecting directions. What are people spending their money on? And you know, it's been fantastic. This has been a great journey, and I'm glad that each and every single one of you have been through this journey with me as well. And you guys, I know, have begun to see some sort of evolution in the hobby. But let's go ahead and check some of these out after my long, kind of like maybe unnecessary introduction there. Every single coin, again, is original to the seller's auctions. I didn't juice up anything. You know, as a matter of fact, you'll probably come across a few listings that might be out of focus or might be a little bit too dark. You know, we'll talk about it as we go. But we have 32 lots to talk about. Quite the beefy load here, if I say so. How about we start off with one of my favorite dates to even search through, and that's 1960. But of course, it's the Denver minted coins that offer so much potential and promise. Lots of varieties to be found in the 1960 date of Lincoln Memorial cents. This one, you know, no real surprise that this one is even on the list. I would say a few times a week. But this one right here, there's a lot of RPMs, that stands for repunchment marks, that you can find in this particular date. This particular one right here is one of the more notable RPMs. The secondary Denver mint mark is west of the primary mint mark on this one. This is RPM number 1 for 1960D. And by the way, they're all large dates. This is also referred to as the FS 501 in the Cherry Picker's Guide. So it's kind of a big deal. This coin right here sold for $43.90. That's a fantastic amount of money for this sale, considering, you know, the conditions are really nice, but it does have carbon spotting. But it is one of the most important modern varieties that you could find out there. And they're not particularly rare. That's good. The good news. I found a few of these myself just going through good old bankrolls, and they're always a welcome find. Now, the next one that we have here is quite the stunning error. It's a 1972S Lincoln Memorial cent, and it's off-center by about 85%. So this thing is wildly off-center, but the cool aspect of this coin, you have a full date and mint mark, and that's ultimately what's most important to collectors of this error type. Most collectors that do collect into this are looking to complete maybe a date set. You know, maybe they're doing the entire memorial-backed run of the Lincoln cents, and they just need an example. Now, this one right here is probably kind of like toward your top end because of how far off-center it is, and you have that full date. In addition, it's a San Francisco minted coin, which you don't see too many off-center struck coins hailing from the San Francisco Mint. So this one has a lot going for it. And because of that, people have recognized the unique nature of this coin. There was enough bidding to get this thing up to $87.75. And that's with 7 bids, by the way. A very, very nice, if yet important coin to a date set. Now, this is a little early to talk about CUD die breaks, but we have a good one here. This well-loved puppy is a 1981 Lincoln Memorial cent. Yeah, it's circulated quite a bit. It's not beautiful at all. It's got stains and all sorts of stuff going on. But yeah, the big old CUD die break that's sitting atop Lincoln's head is all a result of just some die failure during the production of these coins. You know, kind of like an automobile. There's a lot of wear and tear parts on these machinery. So once they do, they crack, they break, they fall out. And when they strike coins like this, it's going to leave a pretty sizable raised void on there in that cut. Now, when you look at the reverse, you're also going to have the corresponding weakness. And that's ultimately one of the main diagnostical focal points that you're going to want to know about to really determined that you do have a legitimate example. Now, this one right here, pretty nice. In spite of its condition, did sell for $68.50, and that's with 21 bids. A very active listing. Now, our first piece of paper money on the list is going to be this rather modern 2013 colorized $20 bill. Now, I call it colorized because that's been the change of these notes. A good time ago, probably about 15 years ago, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing switched over to the new, what we consider to be more counterproof resistant type of measures. Now, this one right here is on the list, not because it's an error, but because of the serial number. It's a 2-digit, I guess what they call binary serial number. Now, binary in the true sense are 0 and 1s. They're not 1s and 9s, but they are, the word binary has been kind of embraced in the community as being any 2 digits that make up the entire serial number line on here. So 1s and 9s, again, fancy serial number collecting is quite big in the community of paper money collectors. This particular example sold for $64.75. Take a quick glance at the overall condition of the note. I mean, it's been used and abused a little bit. But all in all, a very, very otherwise clean example showing this pretty neat serial number. Now, this is a rather minor error, and it used to be that you could sell these for, maybe 50 cents to $1, but the game has changed a little bit. More people are gravitating toward errors and varieties that are a little bit more on the affordable side. So we do have this 1954S with what we call a delamination. It's actually a piece of the coin that had fallen off, leaving a kind of like grainy wood grain type of void there right on Lincoln's portrait. This one right here, these are coins much like the off-center strikes. People do collect them by date. This one right here, for as minor as it is, did sell for $8.60. And here's another 54S. Now, not at all related to the previous seller or the coin, but this one is on here because it's a pretty well-known variety. Coin's in pretty nice shape. I actually like something like this. It's probably more of a mid-AU condition coin. This one is also a repunch mint mark. You can see the secondary S. Top loop is north of the primary. This is also RPM number 4 in the, I think on Variety Vista or one of those sites. This one ended up selling for $10, and it is one of the more common dates of this particular RPM. Our next $20 bill is going to be a little bit older version. Now, it's a 1995. It's the last date of this particular design where you have the smaller portrait. But this note is on here not because of its fancy serial number, which looks to be pretty close to something that might interest someone somewhere. I don't know where I was going with that. But when you look at the back of the note, wow, this thing has a pretty phenomenal front to back wet ink transfer. All right, so that when these notes are printed onto a sheet, as you guys know, there's 32 notes to a subject sheet. They're printed in rather rapid succession. So when the note, or when the sheets rather, stack on top of each other, the ink is still slightly wet, and therefore it transfers on to the subsequent sheets underneath it. Now this particular one right here is in really nice shape, although it does have a little bit of what we call teller marking. So when this is in a strap, a bank teller will use some sort of marker and they'll mark the edge of them. This one right here is sold for $202, which is a pretty solid amount of money considering that this is more of a very light wet ink transfer. Although it's 100%, it's full, it's quite light. I've seen much more dramatic wet ink transfers or offsets in my time that certainly, deserve more money than this one. This one's pretty neat. Just a good old basic 1958D. Very nice high quality coin. But it's got a little bit of a strike through on the reverse. Now you can make the argument it's either a strike through or a delamination. When they're this small and this fresh on a much newer mint state coin, you could probably go either way. This one sold for $8. Again, if it looks too minor to list on eBay, then you're probably not realizing the full potential of the market for these coins. Now this one's really neat. I've talked about gutter fold errors on a number of occasions. Now the seller did refer to this one as some sort of crease and not gutter fold specifically, which, the note still ended up selling for what I feel like is a very generous amount of money for the error type. But you see that gutter right there that goes right in front of Hamilton's face? That's a result of the subject sheet having a wrinkle in it before it was printed over. So when you don't stretch the wrinkle out and it gets printed over, it's going to leave a blank void in that gutter right there. There's going to be no print whatsoever. Now on the back, obviously when they printed the back print on here, the wrinkle was never pressed out. This one sold for $60.30 with 11 bids. And more than likely, you're going to find this type of error occurrence on a little bit older notes such as this. I haven't seen too many much newer notes, especially like the colorized higher denomination notes with a gutter fold. I think they probably got that all ironed out. No pun intended, by the way. Now we have a 1926 Lincoln wheat cent. Now, keep in mind 26S is, some would consider it to be a semi-key date, but this one here is on the list because it's got a little bit of a lamination issue right on Lincoln's head. It looks like a can opener or something did a number on his head, and it peeled back that metal. That delamination just simply folded back, and that's fine. This one right here sold for $12.50 with 4 bids. Pretty neat. Now this one right here is quite a neat looking coin. Now the strike looks and appears weak, and the seller has determined that this is a 1996 Lincoln Memorial cent. Probably twirling it under a light, you could find that out. But this one right here was struck through a light smattering of grease on the die, which, when coins are struck and the dies have to push through some grease on there, it's always going to weaken certain areas of the coin where the grease is the most concentrated. This particular coin right here ended up selling for a best offer. I couldn't find out on Terapeak or 130 Point how much it sold specifically, but the original asking price was $33.47. Probably maybe $20 to $25. I might still be off on that. That's just purely a guess. But another good one to find. This is, by the way, a much newer zinc-in. So it's a copper-coated zinc planchet coin here. No frills. This is something that, a lot of people overlook only because they just don't know what they have. Now, this is just a neat little group of 1961 nickels, and they are all indeed proof coins. Now, whoever owned this lot, I would imagine probably the seller, but maybe it's been passed down through a few through owners. But this was an obvious, at one point, it was a breakup of a number of proof sets because it's 61. There was some 90% silver in there that people did pull out at one point or another. But this is a full 40 count roll of 1961 nickels. Now, the seller did sell at the same time, I believe, a roll of 64s, which were all proofs, and also, I think, 1960. So 3 different lots. In case you're at all curious as to what this sold for 40 coins, $25.16, which puts it down actually right around 70 cents a coin, give or take. Maybe even a little bit less than that, maybe like 63, 64 cents. Some people would buy these and then flip the individual coins for a couple bucks on eBay. So again, this is another kind of like auction of opportunity. Maybe this is something that, if you're not too eager to sell them right away, you can flip these for a few dollars, and the idea is to 2 to 3x your money. Again, it's small money, and it'll take you a while to sell something like this. Now, this is a 1954S, this time with a curved clip right above good old Jefferson's head. But the Blakesley effect is better seen on the reverse here above pluribus in E pluribus unum. This one right here, pretty decent shape, sold for $23.80. Based off of that sale price, I'm willing to bet that this is one date that you just don't encounter that often, and that's why it's sold for that amount of money. Now, our next piece of currency this time around is a silver certificate. Now, take note, this is quite a minor error, but if you were able to find one that's as minor as this, you could make a pretty good amount of money. Now, most silver certificates that you can buy in bulk, like a coin shop or maybe online, generally they're going to be in pretty low condition, much like this one here that has seen its fair share of time in commerce, for the better part of, I would say, 50, 60 plus years. But this one right here, and you guys know I talk about this a lot, has a somewhat misaligned third print, which is the overprint that consists of the serial numbers and the district seal right here. Where it's most evident, obviously, is going to be some overlap of the A here onto some of that first design print. And even something like that is notable to collectors of this error type. Now, it's not going to knock your socks off at first glance, but it did sell for $97.50, which is not nothing. That's nearly 10 times face value for a note that otherwise is probably worth about $25 to $30 in this condition. And then there's a little bit more of the reverse. This one had some pretty significant hard folds on there. There might be even a few pinholes in there as well. Kind of hard to tell from this image. Now, the brand new quarters are definitely out, and people have recognized a glaring issue with the dies that were used to create these Maya Angelou quarters, is that they had a little bit of a weak spot right next to good old Washington's mouth. All right, they call this the herpes die chip. Right at the corner of his mouth, he either looks like he wasn't chewing his food very well, and he likes to chew his food while having his mouth open, much like the same way that Washington probably liked to eat chicken wings with a fork. But yeah, this little kind of die chip on the corner of his mouth has been very interesting of a topic. One particular seller had a number of these in quantity, and he or she has sold a number of them. As a matter of fact, 16 as of this video for $19.99 a piece. This one right here, the most recent sale within the last, I would say, 12 hours, sold for $20. But $320 profit off of something like this, not too bad. And it's the power of what you can find in these new coins is really what's fueling a lot of folks that really want to make a few dollars in the process. Again, 16 sold by the same seller. I think he or she has like 4 left. $20 a pop. Can't go wrong there. Make sure you guys are looking out for these. And they are showing up on only Philadelphia minted quarters as of right now. Now, we haven't talked too much about off-center struck coins. Here's another one here. We had one earlier, but this is a 2000. Again, one of the more common dates to find. And this one looks like it has seen a few cash registers in its time. I mean, no doubt about it. The coin is pretty well circulated. It's not pretty by any stretch, but if you just need an example, I mean, you could probably do a far worse. This one ended up selling for $25.58 with 10 bids, which is quite a bit higher than I would imagine this would sell for. And we have one of the biggest varieties to look for in change today. This is the 1972 doubled die Obverse Lincoln Memorial Cent. I mean, does it really need much more introduction? Take a look at the obverse of the coin with the date. Liberty is pretty wild, and then the motto "In God We Trust" is pretty well knotted up with all sorts of doubling. This is one of your marquee varieties of the 70s, if not the entire Memorial series. Make sure you're looking for these. They're still being found in circulation to this day, along with the other 8 or 9 DDOs for the date. Again, this one's sold by Coins and Cards for the amount of $436, and that's with 36 bids. Well done. Now here's another one of those partial, this one is, I guess, more 50% back to front wet ink transfer on this one. And keep in mind, with the wet ink transfers, the print is going to be mirrored. It's going to be backwards. So if you see them not mirrored, more than likely it was a lame attempt to counterfeit this type of error. But this is a pretty good one. It's a very robust inking error that you know, compared to the previous one. I think I like this one a lot more because it's just so much more darker. Yeah, another great looking note. It's in pretty nice shape, albeit the cutting's not too great. You have much bigger margins on the left and the top of the note. This is a 77A series, by the way, and it sold for $195.37. And much like the previous coin, this one was bid up through 36 total bids. So we had some busy bidding activity on a few of these items. There's a little bit of the back for you as well, just illustrating more of the miscut. Another thing to keep in mind, it looks like that there was a little bit of under inking or a what do you call it, obstruction here. Maybe some of the paper fibers were on the note and it printed over and left a little bit of voids on there. This, I don't know what the brown is. It might be a little bit of rust staining. Kind of hard to tell. Now, it's not every day that you find a raw Indian head cent error like this. This is an 1895. It's off center by about 10%, maybe a little bit more than that. It's not a high grade beauty, but that's okay. Just finding one in general is half the battle. This one ended up selling for $67 with 13 bids. Again, a very nice, well collected error type on an obsolete coin. This isn't fancy, but yeah, I'll put it up here. 64D Lincoln Memorial Cent with a curved clip. It's quite nice, and yes, it does have a good spot of Blakesley effect, which is that flattening of the opposite side of that particular error. This one right here sold for $10.23 with 10 bids. And another Lincoln Memorial, and you guessed it, this is an RPM as well. A very good one, might I add. 59D is a sleeper date for all sorts of goodies. And this coin is in pretty nice shape. It's got a lot of mid-red still remaining. And there's your RPM. So this is actually referred to as a D over D over D. So you have three attempted punches to get that D just right in there. And yeah, missed the first two, nailed the last one. This one right here is also FS501 in the Cherry Picker's Guide, so it's a well-known variety. And this one sold for $19.50 with 8 bids. Now, this is a much older coin, but if you didn't flip the coin over, you wouldn't be able to see that really nice lamination on the reverse of this 1929 Lincoln. Now, in spite of its date, this is a very common date, and 1929 was minted into the millions. And in this condition, without the lamination, they're still worth 5 to 10 cents. Now, this one right here with that lamination, that's all that really matters, and it ended up selling for $24, and that's with 3 bids. Again, do not throw these back. There's a lot of hidden value in these. Now, here's the other 1960 Repunch Mint Mark that did sell within the last day or so. This one appears to be a slightly better looking coin than the previous one we saw at the beginning of the show. But it's got a fantastic RPM, D over D. Same one as that previous example. This one is also FS502. So this is a little bit different of an RPM compared to that first one, which was a 501. This is a 502. The secondary D, they're both west of the primary mint mark. This one right here sold for $23.50 with 11 bids. And of course, here's another 72, and you guessed it, this is also a doubled die Obverse. Now this time, we have FS108, so this is the 8th doubled die for the series that you need to know about. Now, the coin is in knockout shape. This thing is gorgeous. Upon closer examination, you'll see some of the doubling in not only the date, which is quite strong on all digits on there. Even the tops of the 7 and 2 have that split in there. But check out Liberty as well. That L right there is quite strong, but you could see some doubling across all the letters in Liberty. And then the motto is where a lot of the most spectacular doubling is going to show. So like I said, and I'll say it again, if you can search through every single 1972 that you come across, I guarantee you more than likely that you will find something sometime. But it takes a little bit of searching and hunting to find coins like this, and they're all quite valuable in most condition and grade states. This one right here sold for $49, and that's with 16 bids. Now, the big error coin, I'd say, of the last 6 months has been the 2021 die crack and retain cut. So that's the later progression of this coin here. Here's another world record coin right here. Remember when these were selling for between $100 and $150? Yeah, Pepperidge Farm remembers, and yeah, a lot's changed in just the last, I would say, 60 days since the beginning of the year. These have appreciated so much due to its scarcity and people wanting to get an example, because this coin, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't heard, will be installed in the next edition of the Strike It Rich with Pocket Change book. I had an extensive phone interview with Ken Potter regarding this coin. And rest assured, once it hits that book and any other publication, these things are going to dry up, number one. Number two, they're probably going to get more expensive. This particular example sold for $385. It was organically bid up 34 times. Lots and lots of interest in these coins up until they finally disappear, and then they're just going to be, I guess, a fable for most people. But they have gotten quite expensive real fast. Yeah, and that retained CUD interior die break, the later progression model. Yeah, gangway. I could see that coin reaching $1,000 plus here real soon, and there's just not a lot of them in the marketplace. Here's an 89. I would say this one's off center by just a smidge. I would say less than 10% on this one, but it's a pretty decent condition coin, and it's a little bit more of a scarce state than what you would normally find, especially if you're collecting these by date. This one right here sold for $12.30. And of course, we're revisiting one of the top stories of 2021, the Washington crossing the Delaware Quarter, with a big old crown die chip right on Washington's head on the reverse. When you look at it up close, it's a very impressive coin. Now, values of these have dropped a little bit, but I'm glad to say that this particular example managed to sell for $100, which is a pretty good amount of money. But these have been quite plentiful for some time, and hunting for one now, good luck. They're starting to dry up, and if you do find them, more than likely your coin is to be pretty well circulated by that point. But some of these mid-state coins can still fetch about $150, so still another good coin to look out for. All right, so we got to talk about the steal of the week. Ike Dollar errors are awesome, and the error community realizes that. So when this 72D Ike came up for sale and ended, I would say last night, get this, it sold for, it was so $30.14, and that's with shipping included. This is a coin that if you grade with NGC or PCGS, and yeah, granted, you're going to pay a lot of money to grade this thing through especially PCGS. This is a coin that goes for about $300 to $400 on sites like Great Collections. You would be surprised because of the scarcity play here with any sort of errors on this much bigger coin. People want them, and there's a closet group of individuals that collect these, and they want them, and they pay through the nose for really nice examples, which that's what this one fits into. It's such a nice high grade example, but $30, man, I wish I were there to bid on it. I would scoop it up right away. Now here's a Lincoln Cent right here that has a lot of its obverse design missing. Now this one right here was struck through a late stage capped die. All right, so there was a coin stuck to the head face of the die at one point, and it struck a few coins, all right, leaving a pretty good sizable void of the entire obverse of the coin. It's considered basically a strike through, but what kind of strike through? A cap die. It's in really nice shape too. Pretty good one here for $50, which is on average about on par as what you would expect to earn for this type of error. All right, so we do have a few Fred Weinberg specialties, and I've been really looking forward to talking about a few of these coins, starting out with a 2009 S proof set. Now, it's a partial proof set because it only has the dime, nickel, half dollar, and the sack dollar in here. There are no statehood quarters or anything like that in here. It's just these four coins in the original government plastic. But you guys see that little orange dot with the arrow pointing at the dime? Well, that's a pretty interesting thing there. There's a rim burr on this thing. A rim burr. Wow, that's pretty awesome. And this is the exact reason why I love proof sets and going through them. Some people don't like the modern stuff. And, whatever. But finding an error on a proof coin, is like finding a unicorn, prancing out in the wild. It's like it just doesn't happen, right? Because of the stringent quality controls and all that stuff that you would expect for proof coins, finding an error is quite the scarcity. Even just a little good old singular Rimber would transform this 4-coin set that probably has a value of $10 or under into $132.50. Yeah, Rimbers are not the most sexiest errors out there, but when you can 13x your money in a heartbeat, man, I would do that so much. And it's sold with 29 total bids. A lot of activity on this one. Another Fred Weinberg specialty. How about a Lincoln Cent die? All right, so this is an Obverse die. And normally these dies are canceled to the point where they grind off the very top. Canceled to the point where there's no devices remaining. But on this example here, a little bit of Liberty is showing, but also a little bit of the date as well. This was a 1993D, but I think Weinberg had a certificate showing the date. I don't think there's an actual date on the face of this die, but there's just a few letters Liberty right there. Even just that alone is enough to make this one worth a little bit more money. Again, this is the very die right here that produced some 1993 Lincoln Cents. This one ended up selling for $177.50 with 20 bids. And then finally, who doesn't like lots? We all love lots because, again, it's the potential that exists here in these larger group quantities. You buy them up, you sell them individually, or you buy them up and you start to assemble a date set for yourself. Whatever you want to do, any sizable lot, will generally command a little bit less money because you're selling in bulk, right? If you went to Costco, you bought, say, 20 cans of soup. Per piece, it would be a lot cheaper than, say, if you went to Safeway and bought one can at $3, and then, the Costco cans would be $1.50. So, again, the same deal, same premise here with these lots. Now, each and every single one of these Washington quarters have double clips on them. Maybe you had the opportunity to look at them while I was rambling on, but every single coin, 2 clips minimum. All readable dates, by the way. A lot of 70s, 80s, and 90s are in full attendance of this lot, and the coins all look fantastic. Lots of high-grade specimens here. This was a real superstar in this week's PCMR. It sold for $235.38. Average price is, $12 a coin or less. 25 bids altogether went on to make this one quite a nice sale. Another Fred Weinberg specialty. Apparently he doesn't care about selling these incredibly much cheaper Washington quarters as singular coins, but I don't know. Maybe someone else recognized a little bit of opportunity and make a few bucks and, take advantage of it. But that's going to go ahead and do it for this edition of the Pocket Change Market Report. It sure was a pleasure talking with you guys today and showing you some really nice coins in the mix. But that's it. I wish you guys the best of luck in all of your hunting. And that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this week. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge. Don't forget to do all 3 of those things because, the YouTube algorithms probably might like that. And so would I. I'm not going to lie. I think that's pretty cool to get a few more subs in. But that's it, guys. You guys take care. Have a good one. And I'll see you on the next coin video. So long.